"My mother has that ring," the waitress said. And what the boss discovered left him frozen. The rain hammered against the windows of the Hope restaurant like it was trying to get in. Thomas Walker sat alone in a corner booth, the kind where the leathers crack just enough to remind you it's seen better days. At 53, Thomas had that look, the one that came from wearing expensive suits but forgetting to live in them. His eyes, a faded blue, hadn't truly focused on anything in years. Not really. He twisted the ring on his pinky finger. Gold. White gold, to be specific. It caught the dim light from the overhead lamp, throwing tiny reflections across the scratch table. Two doves intertwined, wings touching, and right in the center, T&E, Thomas and Eleanor. 20 years, 20 damn years since he'd lost them both. He took a sip of coffee, cold now, bitter, and let his mind drift back, the way it always did on nights like this. December nights, rain nights, nights that felt too much like that night. Eleanor had been 33, all dark hair and warm laugh, the kind of woman who could make a Tuesday feel like Christmas morning. Their daughter Emily, God Emily, had just turned 5, pigtails, gap-toothed smile, obsessed with butterflies. They were supposed to visit Eleanor's mother up in Albany. Simple trip. Thomas had a meeting, some hotel acquisition that couldn't wait. At least that's what he'd told himself. "I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow," he'd said. Kissing Eleanor's forehead at the door, Emily had wrapped her little arms around his leg. "Promise, Daddy. Promise, sweetheart." He never saw them again. The bus went off the road 50 miles outside the city, rolled 3 times, they said, caught fire. By the time emergency crews got there, it was just twisted metal and smoke. They found bodies, burned so badly that identification took weeks. Eleanor and Emily were declared dead after they matched some jewelry, a purse, dental records that were never quite certain. But they never found them. Not really. Thomas had spent the first year in a fog, the second year in therapy, and the next 18 convincing himself that living was something he still had to do. He built his hotel empire higher, made more money than he knew what to do with, and wore this ring every single day like some kind of anchor, the only proof they'd existed at all. "More coffee, sir?" Thomas looked up. A young woman stood beside his table, pot of coffee in hand, her dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She couldn't have been more than 25, with honey-colored eyes and an apron stained with what looked like marinara sauce. Her name tag read, "Lily." "Sure," Thomas muttered, pushing his cup toward her. She poured steady hand, the kind of pour that came from doing this 1,000 times. But then she stopped. Mid-pour, the coffee splashed over the rim, pooling on the saucer. "Oh, sorry, Her voice caught. Thomas frowned. "Something wrong?" Lily was staring at his hand, at the ring. "That ring." Her voice came out barely above a whisper. Where did you get that?" Thomas felt something shift in his chest. A small thing, like a stone rolling down a hill. "It was custom made, why?" She set the coffee pot down with shaking hands. "My mom has that ring." The world stopped. Just stopped. Thomas felt his heart slam against his ribs. "What?" "My mom," Lily repeated, her eyes wide now, almost frightened. "She has the exact same ring. I'd recognize it anywhere. The doves, the initials, everything. That's not possible." Thomas's voice sounded strange in his own ears. Distant. "There are only 2 of these rings in the world. I had them made. One for me, one for my wife." "I'm not lying." Lily fumbled for her phone, fingers clumsy as she swiped through her photos. "Here, look." She turned the screen toward him. Thomas stared. It was a picture of an older woman, maybe late 50s, thin, with gray hair pulled back from a tired face. She was standing by a window, sunlight streaming in, and her hand, her left hand, rested on the windowsill. On her finger was the ring. His ring, Eleanor's ring, 2 doves, T&I. The coffee pot hit the floor. The crash echoed through the restaurant like a gunshot. Glass shattered. Coffee spread across the tile in a dark stain. But Thomas didn't hear it, didn't see it. All he saw was that ring. Sir, are you okay?" Lily's voice sounded far away. "Where?" Thomas gripped the edge of the table. His knuckles went white. "Where did your mother get that ring?" Lily looked like she might cry. I don't know, she's never told me. She doesn't remember anything before 20 years ago. 20 years. What do you mean she doesn't remember? She lost her memory. Lily's words came faster now, tumbling over each other. In an accident, some fisherman found her on the beach down in Florida, unconscious, bleeding from her head. She woke up in a hospital with no idea who she was. No one ever came looking for her. She just started over. Thomas couldn't breathe. The restaurant spun around him. The chatter of other diners, the clink of silverware, the hum of the kitchen, all of it faded into static. An accident 20 years ago. Memory loss, Eleanor. What's your mother's name? His voice cracked. Rose, Lily whispered. Rose Reyes. Not Eleanor. Rose, but the ring didn't lie. The ring couldn't lie. Thomas stood abruptly, his chair scraping loud against the floor. People turned to look. He didn't care. I need to see her, he said. Your mother. I need to see her. Lily stepped back, overwhelmed. I don't know if that's... Please. Thomas realized he was gripping her arm. He let go immediately, held up his hands. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to scare you, but if there's even a chance, if there's any chance at all... He couldn't finish. Lily looked at him for a long moment, really looked at him, saw the desperation, the grief, the 20 years of unanswered questions carved into every line of his face. She lives in Sand Harbor, Lily finally said, a little town on the coast in Florida. She doesn't like visitors, doesn't trust strangers, but I'll talk to her. Thomas pulled out his wallet, hands still shaking, and dropped $300 bills on the table. Way too much for a cup of coffee and a broken pot. Thank you, he breathed. Don't thank me yet, Lily said quietly. I don't know what this means, and honestly, I'm terrified to find out. Thomas watched her walk away, back toward the kitchen, and something inside him that had been dead for 20 years stirred, flickered. Hope. He looked down at his ring. The doves stared back. Somewhere in a small town in Florida, Eleanor's ring shone under the same sky, and Thomas Walker, for the first time in 2 decades, had a reason to believe in the impossible. Thomas didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that photograph, Rose's weathered hand, that impossible ring catching the light. He sat in his penthouse office overlooking the glittering chaos of Manhattan, the city that never slept, keeping him company in his insomnia. By sunrise, he'd made his decision. Richard Coleman arrived at 9 sharp. He was the kind of man who inspired confidence just by walking into a room. Mid-50s, salt and pepper beard, eyes that missed nothing. Former NYPD detective turned private investigator. If anyone could find the truth buried under 20 years of grief and confusion, it was Coleman. Tell me everything, Coleman said, settling into the chair across from Thomas's desk. Thomas did. The accident, the bodies that were never quite right, the years of searching that led nowhere. And now, this impossible ring on the finger of a woman named Rose who lived in a forgotten town in Florida and remembered nothing before 20 years ago. Coleman listened without interrupting, taking notes in a worn leather notebook. When Thomas finished, the investigator sat back, tapping his pen against his chin. Coincidences happen, Coleman said carefully, but not like this. Can you find out? I can find out anything. Question is whether you're ready for what I might find. Thomas met his gaze. I've been ready for 20 years. Coleman nodded once. I'll start with the bus accident, original reports, witness statements, identification records, if there was confusion. And with a fire that bad, there usually is. I'll find it. He stood, tucking his notebook away. Give me a week. You have 3 days. Coleman almost smiled. Rich people don't understand how investigations work. Rich people pay enough to make them work faster. This time Coleman did smile. Fair enough. 3 days. That afternoon, Thomas found himself back at the Hope restaurant. He told himself it was just for lunch, a convenient spot. Nothing to do with the young woman who might hold the key to everything. Lily appeared at his table within minutes, looking like she'd slept about as well as he had. You came back, she said. Seemed like a good place for coffee. She almost laughed, almost instead. She slid into the seat across from him without asking. Her boss shot her a look from behind the counter, but she ignored it. I called my mom last night, Lily said quietly. Told her about you. About the ring. Thomas's heart kicked. What did she say? She got scared. Really scared. Started asking me if you'd threatened me. If I was in danger. Lily twisted a napkin in her hands. She made me promise not to give you her address. Not to tell you anything else. The disappointment hit him like a physical blow. I understand. I didn't promise. Thomas looked up. Lily's honey-colored eyes held his. Look, I don't know you. For all I know, you could be some crazy person with a tragic backstory who saw an opportunity. But, she glanced down at her own hands. My whole life, my mom's been this mystery. She doesn't talk about the past. Gets panic attacks when I ask questions. And she's been wearing that ring since before I was born. She told me once it was the only thing she had when they found her. The only piece of herself she brought back from, wherever she was before. Tell me about her, Thomas said. Please. Lily took a breath. Her name's Rose Reyes, at least. That's what she calls herself 20 years ago. Some fishermen found her unconscious on the beach in San Harbor. That's a tiny town on the Florida coast. The kind of place people go to disappear. She had a head injury, was half drowned. They rushed her to the county hospital. Thomas leaned forward, hanging on every word. She woke up 3 days later with no memory, couldn't remember her name, where she came from. Nothing. The police ran her prints, checked missing persons reports, put her face in the papers. Nobody claimed her. Nobody even called. What about Emily? The name caught in Thomas's throat. My daughter. She was 5. She was with Eleanor that day. Lily's expression shifted, something unreadable passing across her face. I'm 25, she said slowly. I was born in San Harbor, my mom. She raised me alone. My father, whoever he was, wasn't in the picture. The math crashed into Thomas like a wave. 5 years old then. 25 now. The timeline matched perfectly. You think I'm her, Lily whispered. You think I'm Emily. Thomas couldn't speak, could barely breathe. I've thought about it all night, Lily continued. Turned it over and over in my head. And here's the thing. I don't remember anything before I was about 5 or 6 either. My mom always said it was normal, that kids don't remember much from when they're really young. But what if it wasn't normal? What if I forgot because there was something to forget? We need to know, Thomas said hoarsely. We need to be sure. How? DNA test. Medical records. I'll hire the best doctors in the country. We'll find the truth. Lily stood abruptly, wrapping her arms around herself. And what if the truth destroys everything? What if my mom really is your wife, and she's been living this quiet, simple life, and we drag her back into a past that broke her so badly she forgot it existed? What if I'm your daughter, and the last 20 years of my life have been a lie? Or what if, Thomas said gently, you get your family back? Lily's eyes filled with tears. I don't know if I can handle this. Neither do I, Thomas admitted. But we're going to try, together. She studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, but we do this carefully. My mom's fragile. If we push too hard, she'll run, and I'll lose her. We'll take it slow, Thomas promised. But even as he said it, he felt the urgency burning in his chest. 20 years of questions, 20 years of grief, and now, finally, a thread to pull across town. In the corner office of Walker Hotel's headquarters, Catherine Walker hung up her phone and smiled coldly. Her private investigator had been following Thomas for 3 days now. She knew about the restaurant, about the girl, about the questions her brother was asking. Eleanor Walker had been declared dead 20 years ago. Her shares in the company had been redistributed. Catherine now controlled 40% of the family empire. If Eleanor came back from the dead, everything would change. Catherine pulled up a contact on her phone. Someone who specialized in making problems disappear. I need you to look into something, she said when he answered. A woman in Florida named Rose Reyes. Find out everything. And I mean everything. She hung up and stared out at the Manhattan skyline. Some ghosts, she thought, should stay buried. The drive to San Harbor took 8 hours. Thomas had offered to fly them down in his private jet. But Lily said no. My mom would freak out if she knew how rich you are. She doesn't trust wealthy people, says they always want something. So they drove. Thomas behind the wheel of a rental sedan. Lily quiet in the passenger seat. watching Florida blur past the window as they left the interstate and merged onto smaller highways. Then county roads, then finally a 2-lane stretch of cracked asphalt that ran along the coast. Sand Harbor wasn't the kind of place you found by accident. It was the kind of place you ended up when you were running from something, or when the world had chewed you up and spat you out somewhere you could heal in peace. Population couldn't have been more than 3,000. Fishing boats lined a weathered dock, paint peeling in the salt air. Small houses with metal roofs sat scattered among palmetto palms and live oaks draped in Spanish moss. It looked like the end of the world, or maybe the beginning of a new one. "That's it," Lily said softly, pointing to a house set back from the road. "That's where we live." Thomas pulled over, his hands gripping the steering wheel. The house was small, wood siding bleached gray by sun and storms. The porch sagged a little on one side. Flowers grew in mismatched pots along the steps. Petunias, marigolds, something he didn't recognize. A wind chime made of seashells hung from the eave, turning slowly in the breeze. It was nothing like the brownstone in Brooklyn where he and Eleanor had lived. Nothing like the life they'd planned. But it looked peaceful. "You okay?" Lily asked. Thomas realized he hadn't moved, hadn't even unbuckled his seatbelt. 20 years, he said. "If she's really Eleanor, she's been here for 20 years. And I never knew. You couldn't have known. I should have looked harder." "Should have. Mr. Walker," Lily's voice was firm. "You did everything you could. Sometimes people just disappear, and sometimes they come back. But you can't carry that guilt. Not if you want to move forward." He looked at her, really looked at her, and saw Eleanor in the shape of her eyes. The curve of her jaw, saw his daughter grown into a woman he'd never gotten to know. "Let's go," he said. They walked up the path together. The shells crunched under their feet, and somewhere nearby, a mockingbird sang its stolen songs. Lily's hand trembled as she reached for the door, then stopped. "She doesn't know you're coming," Lily admitted. "I didn't tell her. I was afraid she'd leave." "Would she do that?" In a heartbeat. Lily knocked. 3 quick raps, then a pause, then 2 more. Some kind of signal. The door opened. Thomas forgot how to breathe. The woman standing in the doorway was 58 but looked older, worn down by years of hard work and harder memories. Her hair was gray, pulled back in a loose bun. She wore a simple cotton dress, faded from too many washings, and her feet were bare. Lines creased her face, deep around her eyes and mouth, but Thomas knew her. God help him. He knew her. "Mom," Lily said carefully, "this is Thomas Walker, the man I told you about." Rose, Eleanor, stared at him. Her eyes, still that same deep brown despite everything time had done to her, widened in something that looked like recognition, or fear, maybe both. "No," she whispered, stepping back. "No, I told you not to bring him here. I know, but you need to leave." Rose's voice shook. "Both of you, right now." Thomas found his voice. "Eleanor, that's not my name." "Yes, it is." He took a step forward, hands raised, non-threatening. "Your name is Eleanor Walker. You were born in Boston. Your favorite color was green. You hated cilantro. You used to sing in the shower. Old Beatles songs. Always a little off-key." His voice cracked. "You're my wife." Rose shook her head violently. "I don't know you. I don't know any of that. Look at this." Thomas pulled the photograph from his wallet with shaking hands. The same one he'd shown Lily. Him and Eleanor on their wedding day. Emily as a toddler between them. All 3 of them laughing at something the photographer had said. Rose took the photo, held it up to the light filtering through the screen door, and something shifted in her expression. Her breathing quickened. Her free hand went to her chest, pressed hard against her sternum like she was trying to hold something in, or keep something out. "The little girl," Rose whispered. "I've seen her before." Thomas's heart nearly stopped. "Where?" "In my dreams, in my nightmares." Rose looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. "She's always crying, always reaching for me. And there's fire everywhere, so much fire." "The bus accident," Thomas said. "You were on a bus to Albany. It crashed. There was a fire. They told me you died. I don't remember, but you remember Emily." He couldn't keep the desperation out of his voice. "You remember our daughter." Rose looked at Lily then, really looked at her, like she was seeing her for the first time. Lily, maybe not Lily, the young woman said quietly. Maybe Emily. Rose's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the floor, the photograph falling from her hands. Thomas rushed forward, caught her before she could collapse completely. She felt so small in his arms, so fragile. Nothing like the strong woman he remembered. But she was warm, real, alive. I don't understand, Rose sobbed. I don't understand what's happening. I know, Thomas said, holding her while she shook. I know, but we're going to figure it out. Together, Lily knelt beside them, tears running down her own face. She picked up the photograph, studied it again. She has my eyes, she said. Emily, she has my eyes. She has your mother's eyes, Thomas corrected gently. Eleanor's eyes. The three of them sat there on the floor of that small house at the edge of the world, tangled together by impossible coincidence or fate, or something beyond understanding. Outside, the wind chimes sang their shell song, and the mockingbird continued its endless impersonations, and on both their fingers, the rings with two doves intertwined caught the fading afternoon light, glinting like promises that had waited 20 years to be kept. Rose lifted her hand, stared at the ring she'd worn for so long without knowing why. Tell me, she whispered. Tell me everything. So Thomas did. Richard Coleman called 3 days after Thomas returned to New York. His voice on the phone was careful, measured, the way it always was when he'd found something big. You need to come to my office now. Thomas was there in 20 minutes. Coleman's office sat above a Korean restaurant in Queens, the kind of place that smelled perpetually of garlic and soy sauce. The investigator spread a dozen file folders across his desk, each one stuffed with papers, photographs, official documents stamped and certified. The bus accident, Coleman began, tapping the first folder. December 18th, 2003. Charter bus headed to Albany. 42 passengers. Driver lost control on a patch of black ice. Vehicle rolled 3 times. Caught fire. He pulled out a series of photographs. Thomas looked away. Twisted metal, char marks, things that had once been human. 17 confirmed dead at the scene, Coleman continued. Another 8 died in hospitals over the following weeks. The rest survived with various injuries. But here's where it gets interesting. He opened another folder. The identification process was a nightmare. The fire was so intense that several bodies were burned beyond recognition. They used dental records, jewelry, personal effects found near remains. Eleanor and Emily were identified through jewelry, Thomas said. His voice sounded hollow. A bracelet, Eleanor's wedding ring. Except Eleanor's wearing her wedding ring in Florida right now, Coleman said. Which means the body they identified as hers wasn't hers. The words hung in the air like smoke. Thomas sat down heavily. How was that possible? Chaos, panic, a fire hot enough to destroy evidence, and investigators under pressure to give families closure. Coleman pulled out another document. I found something else. A witness. A truck driver who arrived at the scene before emergency services. He gave a statement that was buried in the supplemental reports. Said he saw a woman and a small child walking away from the wreck, heading east along the highway. He thought they were survivors going for help. Eleanor and Emily, maybe the witness description matches. Dark-haired woman, early 30s, little girl, maybe 5 or 6. Both had injuries but were ambulatory. Coleman slid a map across the desk. If they walked east from the accident site, they would have hit Route 9. Follow that for about 15 miles, and you eventually reach the Hudson River. From there, they could have gotten lost, confused. Eleanor had a head injury. She wouldn't have been thinking straight. Or, Coleman said quietly, they could have kept going until they couldn't go anymore, until someone found them. Thomas stared at the map, tried to imagine it. Eleanor, bleeding and disoriented, dragging Emily through the cold December night, lost, alone, terrified, and somehow ending up in Florida. How did they get from New York to Florida? Thomas asked. That's the question I can't answer yet, but I will. Coleman closed the folders. In the meantime, we need DNA confirmation. I've arranged for a lab in Miami, completely confidential, results in 72 hours. All you need is a sample from Rose and Lily. They've agreed, Thomas said. We're doing it this week. Coleman nodded, then hesitated. There's something else you need to know. The investigator's tone made Thomas's stomach tighten. What? Someone else is asking questions about Rose Reyes. Who? I don't know yet. But they're good. Professional. They've been making calls to San Harbor, asking neighbors about Rose when she arrived, what she does, who visits her. They tried to access hospital records from when she was first found. Coleman met Thomas's eyes. Whoever it is, they don't want you to find her, or they want to find her first. Thomas's mind immediately went to one person. Catherine, your sister. She controls 40% of my company, if Eleanor's alive, if she comes back. Thomas didn't finish. He didn't have to. Coleman's expression darkened. Family's always the most dangerous enemy. They know where to hurt you. Thomas tried calling Catherine that evening. She didn't answer. He left a message. Professional. Brief. We need to talk. She called back at midnight, waking him from the first real sleep he'd had in days. Whatever you're doing, Thomas, stop. Her voice was cold, clipped. You're making a fool of yourself. How did you find out? I'm not stupid. You've been disappearing at odd hours, distracted in meetings. You're chasing ghosts and it's pathetic. She's not a ghost. Thomas sat up in bed, anger flaring hot in his chest. Eleanor's alive, I've seen her. Catherine laughed. Actually laughed. You've seen a con artist, a woman who looks enough like Eleanor to make you desperate. And now she's got her hooks in you, along with her daughter, who, let me guess, is conveniently the right age to be Emily. DNA tests will prove it. DNA tests can be faked. People can be bought, for God's sake, Thomas. You're a billionaire. Do you have any idea how many people would love to take advantage of that? This isn't about money. Everything's about money. Catherine's voice turned sharp. You think I don't know what this means? If your Eleanor comes back, she reclaims her shares, her position. Everything I've built for the past 20 years gets taken away by a woman who abandoned her family. She didn't abandon us. She had amnesia. Convenient. The accident was real. Catherine, the records prove it. Records prove what you pay them to prove. A pause. Listen to me, brother. I'm trying to protect you. This woman, whoever she is, she's going to destroy you, take everything you have, leave you with nothing. I already have nothing, Thomas said quietly. I've had nothing for 20 years, if there's even a chance. Then you're a fool. Catherine's voice went ice cold. And I won't let you destroy this family's legacy because you're too blinded by grief to see reality. If you continue down this path, I'll fight you, legally, publicly. I'll make sure everyone knows you've lost your mind. Try it, Thomas said. See what happens. He hung up. His hands were shaking. Not from fear, from rage. Catherine had always been ambitious, always wanted more than her share. When Eleanor disappeared, Catherine had swooped in like a vulture, taking control of board meetings, making decisions that should have been Thomas's. He'd let her because he'd been too broken to care, but he cared now. His phone buzzed. A text from Lily. Mom agreed to the DNA test. She's scared, but she wants to know the truth. When should we come up? Thomas typed back. This weekend. I'll arrange everything. Then another text came through. From a blocked number. Leave it alone. Some people are better off forgotten. Thomas stared at the message, deleted it, blocked the number, but the threat lingered in his mind like smoke. Someone didn't want the truth to come out. Someone powerful enough to have resources, connections, reach. Catherine. Thomas looked at the ring on his finger. The dove seemed to glow in the darkness of his bedroom. I'm not stopping, he whispered to them. To Eleanor, to Emily, to the ghosts that weren't ghosts anymore. Not this time. Not ever. Outside his window, Manhattan glittered like 1,000 promises. Some kept, some broken. Thomas intended to keep his. Rose arrived in New York on a gray Saturday morning, looking like she wanted to bolt at any second. Lily held her hand the entire cab ride from the airport to Thomas's penthouse, whispering reassurances that didn't quite reach her mother's frightened eyes. Thomas had arranged everything. Private neurological consultations with Dr. Sarah Chen, one of the best trauma specialists in the country, DNA tests at a discreet lab in Midtown, a suite at one of his hotels. Nothing too fancy. He'd been careful about that. The last thing he wanted was to overwhelm Rose with wealth she couldn't process. But standing in his living room now, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, Rose looked like a deer caught in headlights. "This is too much," she whispered. I shouldn't be here." "Mom," Lily squeezed her hand. "We're just going to talk to some doctors, get some answers, that's all. What if the answers are wrong? What if I'm not who he thinks I am?" Thomas, standing by the window, turned to face her. "Then we'll know, and we'll deal with it. But Rose," he hesitated over the name, "you deserve to know who you were. Don't you want that?" Rose looked at him with those brown eyes that had haunted his dreams for 20 years. "I'm scared of who I was. What if I find out I was someone terrible? What if there's a reason I forgot?" "You weren't terrible," Thomas said softly. "You were kind. You volunteered at the children's hospital. You made the best apple pie I've ever tasted. You cried during sad commercials and laughed at terrible jokes." His voice caught. "You were the best person I ever knew." Rose's eyes filled with tears. "I don't remember any of that." "Maybe you will." Dr. Chen's office was all warm wood and soft lighting, designed to put patients at ease. The neurologist herself was in her mid-40s, with short black hair and the calm demeanor of someone who'd seen everything. "Memory loss from traumatic brain injury is complex," Dr. Chen explained, sitting across from Rose. Thomas and Lily sat on either side, silent witnesses. "Your brain essentially hit a reset button to protect itself. The question is whether those memories are gone forever or just locked away." "Can you unlock them?" Rose asked. "We can try, but I need you to understand. This process can be painful. Traumatic memories are often suppressed for a reason. If we bring them back, you might experience significant psychological distress." Rose glanced at Thomas, then at Lily. "I need to know." Dr. Chen nodded. "We'll start with hypnotherapy. It's a way of accessing your subconscious mind, bypassing the barriers your brain has constructed. Are you comfortable with that? Do I have a choice?" "You always have a choice," Dr. Chen said gently. "Always." Rose took a deep breath. "Let's do it." The session took place in a smaller room, dimly lit, with a reclining chair that looked more comfortable than it probably was. Rose settled into it while Dr. Chen prepared her equipment. Nothing invasive, just a voice recorder and a notepad. "I'm going to guide you into a relaxed state," Dr. Chen said. "You'll be aware of everything happening, but you'll feel calm, safe. If at any point you want to stop, just say so." "Understood." Rose nodded. Thomas and Lily watched from behind a one-way mirror in the adjacent observation room. Thomas's heart hammered against his ribs. Dr. Chen began speaking in a low, soothing voice. "Close your eyes, Rose. Take deep breaths. Feel your body relax, starting from your toes, moving up through your legs, your stomach, your chest." Rose's breathing slowed. Her hands, clenched in her lap, gradually loosened. "You're safe here," Dr. Chen continued. "Nothing can hurt you. I want you to go back in your memory. Not all the way, just to a place where you feel calm." "Where are you?" "The beach," Rose murmured. "Sand Harbor. The waves are singing." "Good. Now I want you to go back a little further, before Sand Harbor." "What do you see?" Rose's face tightened. "Dark." "What kind of dark?" "Cold, wet. I'm walking, my feet hurt." Her breathing quickened. "Someone's crying." Thomas gripped the edge of the observation window. "Who's crying?" Dr. Chen asked. "A little girl. She won't stop crying." Rose's voice cracked. "I need to make her stop. They'll hear us, the fire. They'll see the fire." "What fire, Rose?" "Everywhere. The fire's everywhere." Rose's hands clenched again, knuckles white. "The bus. It's burning. People are screaming. I can't breathe. The smoke. You're safe," Dr. Chen said firmly. "The fire can't hurt you now. You got out. How did you get out?" "The window. I broke the window." Tears streamed down Rose's face. "She was screaming for me. My baby was screaming. I pulled her through the glass. It cut my hands, but I didn't care. I just had to get her out." Lily gasped behind the mirror. Her own hands went to her mouth. "Where did you go after you got out?" Dr. Chen pressed gently. "Away? We walked away. She was so heavy. She kept asking for her daddy, kept saying, "Where's daddy? I want daddy." And I couldn't. Rose's voice broke into sobs. I couldn't remember. I tried to remember, but my head was bleeding and everything was wrong. Nothing made sense. "What's your name?" Dr. Chen asked. "I don't know." "What's the little girl's name?" Rose's face contorted. Emily. Her name is Emily." Thomas's legs nearly gave out. Lily grabbed his arm, steadying him, tears pouring down her own face. "And who are you to Emily?" I'm her mother. I'm her mother and I lost her. I lost everything." Rose was fully crying now, body shaking with the force of suppressed grief. I walked and walked, but I couldn't find the way home. I couldn't remember where home was. And then the water. We got to the water and I thought, maybe if we just rested for a minute. What happened then? Everything went black. Just black. Dr. Chen let the silence settle. "Rose, I'm going to count backward from 5. When I reach 1, you'll wake up and you'll remember everything we talked about. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rose's eyes snapped open. She looked around the room, disoriented. Then her gaze found the one-way mirror, found Thomas's silhouette behind it. "Thomas," she whispered. And for the first time in 20 years, she said his name like she meant it, like she knew it, like she remembered. They didn't speak immediately after. Couldn't. The weight of what had been uncovered sat heavy in the air between them. Thomas drove them back to the hotel in silence. Lily held her mother's hand. Rose stared out the window at the city lights, processing memories that had been locked away for 2 decades. Finally, in the quiet of the hotel suite, Rose turned to Thomas. "I remember your face," she said. "Not everything, not the life we had, but your face. I remember it, and I remember loving you." Thomas crossed the room and took her hands. Both of them were shaking. "That's enough," he said. "That's more than enough." Rose looked at Lily. "And you, God, you're so much like I was at your age. How did I not see it?" Lily smiled through tears. "Because you were too busy being my mom." The 3 of them held each other while the city hummed outside the windows, fragments becoming whole, memories rebuilding themselves one painful piece at a time. The DNA results would come on Monday, but Thomas already knew the truth. His family had come home. The envelope arrived on Monday morning at 9:47 a.m. Thomas knew the exact time because he'd been staring at his phone for 3 hours, waiting for Coleman's call. It came in the form of an email instead. Subject line: results. Thomas sat in his office, the Manhattan skyline stretching endlessly beyond his windows, and his finger hovered over the attachment. Rose and Lily were downstairs in the hotel, probably having breakfast, probably as nervous as he was. 1 click. That's all it would take to confirm what his heart already knew, or destroy everything. He opened it. The scientific language blurred together. Alleles, genetic markers, probability percentages. But the conclusion was clear, typed in bold at the bottom of the page. DNA analysis confirms with 99.97% certainty that Rose Reyes is Eleanor Walker. DNA analysis confirms with 99.98% certainty that Lily Reyes is Emily Walker, biological daughter of Thomas Walker and Eleanor Walker. Thomas read it 3 times, then 5, then lost count. His wife was alive. His daughter was alive. 20 years of grief, of guilt, of nights spent wondering what he could have done differently. All of it condensed into 2 sentences and a handful of numbers. He called Coleman. "You saw." The investigator's voice was gentle. "I saw. Congratulations, Thomas. You found them." Thomas couldn't speak. The word congratulations seemed too small for what he was feeling. Joy, relief, terror at what came next. "There's more," Coleman continued. "I've been digging into how Eleanor got from New York to Florida. I think I've got a lead. A trucker who picked up 2 hitchhikers fitting their description outside Philly around the time of the accident. Said he drove them as far as Georgia before they got off. After that, the trail goes cold. But it's something. It's enough," Thomas said. "We know they're alive. Everything else is just details." "Not everything." Coleman's tone shifted. "That investigation I mentioned into Rose, it's gotten more aggressive. Someone tried to bribe a nurse at the San Harbor clinic for Rose's medical files from when she was first admitted. The nurse refused. But, Catherine, almost certainly, she knows you're close to something. She's going to fight this, Thomas. Hard. Let her. Thomas stood, pacing to the window. I have proof now. Scientific proof. She can't argue with DNA. She can argue with lawyers and money and 20 years of legal precedent saying Eleanor Walker is dead. Thomas's jaw tightened. Then we'll fight back. After hanging up, he forwarded the DNA results to Rose and Lily with a simple message. We need to talk. They met in Thomas's penthouse an hour later. Rose looked like she hadn't slept. Dark circles under her eyes, hands trembling as she held the printed DNA results. Lily sat beside her mother, arm around her shoulders, her own face pale. It's real, Rose whispered. I'm really her, Eleanor Walker. You're really her, Thomas confirmed. And I'm Emily, Lily said, staring at the paper like it might transform into something else if she looked long enough. 25 years old, and I'm just now finding out who I actually am. Rose set the papers down on the coffee table. What happens now? That's up to you, Thomas said carefully. Legally, you're still my wife. Legally, Emily is still our daughter. You have rights to your identity, to your property, to your share of the company, but I'm not going to force anything on either of you. If you want to go back to San Harbor and pretend this never happened, can we do that? Rose asked. Can we really just pretend? No, Lily said quietly. No, we can't. Because now I know. Now I know I had a father who loved me, who never stopped looking. And I know I had a mother who saved my life. She looked at Rose. You pulled me out of that fire, Mom. You carried me for miles even though you were injured. You protected me even when you couldn't remember why. Rose's eyes filled with tears. I'd do it again. 1,000 times. I know. Lily took her mother's hand. But we can't keep running from the truth. We have to face it, whatever that means. Thomas felt something break open in his chest. Pride, love, the overwhelming sense that despite everything, despite 20 years of loss, they'd somehow managed to survive, to find each other. Then we face it together, he said. The news broke 48 hours later. Thomas hadn't meant for it to go public so quickly, but someone, probably one of Catherine's people, leaked it to the press. By Thursday morning, every major news outlet in the country was running the story. Millionaire's wife returns from the dead after 20 years. DNA proves amnesiac woman is missing heiress. The Walker miracle. Family reunited against all odds. Thomas's phone exploded. Reporters camped outside his building. The hotel where Rose and Lily were staying had to hire extra security. Cameras followed them everywhere. And through it all, Catherine stayed silent. Too silent. On Friday, her response came. Not to Thomas directly, but through her lawyers. A press conference announced for Monday morning. The statement was brief. Catherine Walker, acting CEO of Walker Hotels, will address recent claims regarding her late sister-in-law Eleanor Walker. Ms. Walker has retained legal counsel and intends to protect the integrity of the Walker family legacy. Thomas read it 3 times, each word feeling like a threat. Coleman called within the hour. She's going to contest it, claim fraud, manipulation, maybe even that you're being extorted. She can't. The DNA can be challenged. Expert witnesses can be bought. And Catherine's had 20 years to establish herself as Eleanor's legitimate successor. She's not going to give that up without a war. Then we go to war, Thomas said. That evening, he sat with Rose and Lily in his living room. The city lights twinkled below them like stars that had forgotten how to fall. Catherine's going to fight us, Thomas said. She's going to say you're imposters. She's going to drag this through every court in the country if she has to. Rose closed her eyes. Maybe we should just go home. Mom, I'm serious, Lily. Look at what's happening. We've been in New York less than a week and our lives are already falling apart. The media, the lawyers, people digging into everything. You can't give up, Thomas said. Not now. Not when we're so close. Close to what? Rose looked at him, exhausted. I'm not the woman you married, Thomas. I don't remember our wedding. I don't remember our life together. I'm just Rose, a woman who sews clothes in a beach town. That's who I am. You're also Eleanor, Lily said firmly. And Emily deserves to know who she really is. I deserve that. Rose stared at her daughter. Their daughter, for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. Okay. We fight. Thomas reached across the space between them and took her hand. The ring on her finger pressed against his palm. The doves intertwined like they'd always been meant to stay that way. Together, he said. Together, Rose echoed. Outside, the city that never slept kept moving, indifferent to the small miracle happening 50 floors above the streets. But miracles, Thomas was learning, didn't come easy. They came with a price, and Catherine Walker was about to make sure they paid it in full. Catherine's press conference played on every screen in America. She stood behind a podium at the Walker Hotel's headquarters, dressed in a black power suit that made her look like she was attending a funeral. Her husband stood behind her, silent, uncomfortable. Her lawyers flanked her on both sides like soldiers. "My brother is a good man," Catherine began, her voice steady, practiced. "But he's also a man who's been haunted by tragedy for 20 years. A man who never fully recovered from losing his wife and daughter." She paused, letting sympathy settle over the room. So when a young woman approaches him with a convenient story and a ring that could have been copied, when she presents an older woman with amnesia who can't remember her own past, is it any wonder he wants to believe? The reporters scribbled furiously. "Thomas Walker is being manipulated," Catherine continued. "These women, Rose Reyes and her daughter Lily, have constructed an elaborate fraud. DNA tests can be tampered with, memories can be fabricated, and desperate men can be exploited." Thomas watched from his penthouse, Rose and Lily on either side of him. Rose's face had gone white. Lily's hands were clenched into fists. "She's calling us liars," Lily breathed. "She's calling us con artists on national television." "I know," Thomas said quietly. Catherine wasn't finished. "I've hired independent investigators to look into Emma Reyes's background. What we found is troubling. Multiple aliases in different states. A history of moving from town to town. No verifiable identity before 20 years ago." She looked directly into the camera. If Rose Reyes is truly Eleanor Walker, why did she never try to find her family? Why did she hide in a small town under a false name? And why did she only come forward now, when my brother's net worth exceeds $3 billion? "That's not," Rose started, but her voice broke. Thomas grabbed the remote and turned off the TV. "Don't listen to her," he said. "She's desperate. She knows the truth and she's terrified of losing everything." "But what if people believe her?" Lily asked. "What if they think we're just after your money? Then we prove them wrong." Coleman arrived an hour later with worse news. "Catherine's people found a witness," he said, spreading documents across Thomas's dining table. "A woman named Patricia Summers. She's claiming she knew Rose Reyes in Tampa in 2008. Says Rose told her she was running from an abusive ex-husband and needed to stay hidden." "That's a lie," Rose said immediately. "I've never been to Tampa. I've lived in San Harbor since the fishermen found you." "I know," Coleman looked apologetic. "But Summers has receipts, photos. She's willing to testify that Rose is a drifter with a history of deception." "Photos can be faked," Thomas said. "They can. But Catherine's lawyers are good. They're building a narrative. That Rose is an opportunist who heard about the Walker tragedy and saw a chance to cash in. That she coached Lily to play along. That even the DNA results are suspect because you paid for the testing. I used an independent lab, which you selected, which you paid. Catherine's team will argue you could have influenced the results." Coleman ran a hand through his hair. "Look, I'm not saying they're right. I'm saying they're effective, and juries respond to stories, not science." Rose stood abruptly. "This is insane. I didn't ask for any of this. I was happy in San Harbor. I had a simple life, and now I'm being called a con artist because some fisherman found me half dead on a beach 20 years ago." "Mom!" Lily reached for her, but Rose pulled away. "Maybe Catherine's right. Maybe I should have stayed dead." The words hit Thomas like a physical blow. "Don't say that." "Why not? It's true. Everyone would be better off if I'd never been found. You, Lily, even Catherine. I wouldn't be better off." Thomas's voice was firm. "I spent 20 years thinking you were dead. 20 years hating myself for not being on that bus, and now you're here, you're alive, and I don't care what Catherine says or what witnesses she manufactures. I'm not losing you again." Rose's eyes filled with tears. "But what if we can't win? Then we lose together." Thomas said simply. But we don't give up. The legal battle intensified over the following weeks. Depositions, court filings, lawyers arguing over DNA protocols and witness credibility. The media turned it into a circus, picking sides, running polls, inviting experts to speculate on whether Rose and Lily were legitimate or sophisticated scam artists. Public opinion split down the middle. Some people believed it was a miracle, a family reunited against impossible odds. Others thought it was too convenient, too perfectly tragic to be anything but a carefully constructed lie. Thomas hired the best legal team money could buy. They subpoenaed the original bus accident records, found inconsistencies in how bodies had been identified, located the truck driver who'd picked up Eleanor and Emily. They built a timeline that made sense. A woman with a traumatic brain injury wandering south, ending up in Florida, starting over because she couldn't remember anything else. But Catherine's team countered every move. They brought in forensic accountants who showed Rose had received anonymous cash deposits over the years. Payments from Thomas Walker to keep the scam alive, they claimed. Never mind that Thomas could prove he'd never sent money to anyone in San Harbor. The insinuation was enough. They found supposed witnesses who claimed to have seen Rose in different cities, living different lives. Most of them fell apart under cross-examination. But the damage was done. Reasonable doubt had been planted. And then came the twist no one saw coming. Coleman burst into Thomas's office on a Wednesday afternoon, his face pale. "We've got a problem. A big one. What now?" Catherine tried to bribe the DNA lab technician, offered him $200,000 to testify that the results were inconclusive, that there were anomalies he was pressured to ignore. Thomas felt hope flare. That's perfect. That proves she knows Rose is Eleanor. Otherwise, why would she? The technician recorded the conversation, Coleman interrupted. And he's going to the press, but here's the thing. Catherine's lawyers are claiming it was entrapment, that we set the whole thing up to make her look bad. They're spinning it as use manufacturing evidence because our case is weak. Thomas slammed his fist on the desk. How is she doing this? How does she keep turning everything around? Because she's fighting for billions of dollars and her entire identity, Coleman said. And she's willing to destroy anyone who gets in her way, including family. That night, Thomas sat with Rose on his balcony. The city sprawled below them, millions of lives playing out in lighted windows. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm sorry I dragged you into this nightmare." Rose took his hand. "You didn't drag me. I chose to come. I chose to find out the truth. Was it worth it?" She was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know yet. Ask me when it's over. And if we lose, if Catherine wins, and you go back to being legally dead, then I go back to San Harbor, and you visit sometimes, and we figure out what family looks like when the world says it doesn't exist." Thomas kissed her knuckles. "I've loved you for 30 years. I'm not stopping now, even if I don't remember all of it. Especially because you don't remember, because you chose to love me anyway." Rose leaned her head on his shoulder. Somewhere in the penthouse, Lily was on the phone with a friend, her voice strained but steady. Their daughter, their miracle. Whatever happened in court, whatever Catherine threw at them, they had this. They had each other. And sometimes, Thomas thought, that was enough to fight for. The family meeting was scheduled for 3 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon at the Walker Mansion in upstate New York. The house had been in the family for 3 generations, a sprawling estate with marble floors and oil paintings of ancestors who'd built the hotel empire from nothing. Thomas hadn't been back in years. Too many memories, too many ghosts. But Catherine had insisted on neutral ground, and her lawyers had agreed. So here they were, pulling up the circular driveway in a town car, the 3 of them silent and tense. "I don't like this," Lily said from the back seat. "It feels like a trap." "It probably is," Thomas admitted, "but we don't have a choice." The judge ordered both parties to attempt mediation before trial. Eleanor stared up at the house. "I remember this place, sort of, like looking at it through fog. We got married here," Thomas said quietly, "in the garden out back. You wore your grandmother's dress." Eleanor closed her eyes. "I wish I could see it. The memory, I mean. Maybe one day you will." They walked up the stone steps together. The door opened before they could knock, revealing Catherine's lawyer, a sharp-faced man named David Reeves, who'd built a career on winning impossible cases. "Mr. Walker, Miss Walker, Miss Reyes Walker." He nodded to each of them. "Please, come in." The foyer was exactly as Thomas remembered. Cathedral ceilings, crystal chandelier, a staircase that curved upward like something out of a movie. Catherine stood at the top of those stairs, looking down at them like a queen surveying her subjects. She'd aged in the weeks since the press conference. New lines around her mouth, tension in her shoulders. But her eyes were still hard, still calculating. "Thomas," she said coldly, "I see you brought your companions. My family," Thomas corrected. "My wife and my daughter. Your alleged wife and alleged daughter." Catherine descended the stairs slowly, each step deliberate. "We're here to discuss reality, not fantasy." They moved to the library, a room lined with books nobody ever read, dominated by a massive mahogany table. Catherine's husband sat in the corner, looking uncomfortable. Her 2 adult children were there too, both in their 30s, both avoiding eye contact. The lawyers took their positions like chess pieces. Documents were spread across the table. A court reporter set up in the corner to record everything. Judge Morrison, the mediator appointed by the court, cleared his throat. "We're here to see if an agreement can be reached without going to trial, Mrs. Catherine Walker. You've contested the DNA evidence and the identity claims of Rose Reyes and Lily Reyes. You've alleged fraud, manipulation, and conspiracy. Do you wish to present your case?" Catherine stood. "I do, Your Honor. My brother is a good man who's been taken advantage of by sophisticated con artists. The DNA evidence is questionable. It was verified by 3 independent labs," Thomas's lawyer interrupted, "all of which were selected and paid for by my brother. The testing process was compromised from the start." "That's a lie," Lily said, her voice shaking with anger. "We didn't even know about the DNA tests until Mr. Walker suggested them." Catherine ignored her, continuing, "Furthermore, Rose Reyes has a documented history of moving from place to place, never staying anywhere long enough to establish real roots. She appears in San Harbor 20 years ago with no verifiable past. Because she had amnesia," Eleanor said quietly. "So you claim. But how convenient that your amnesia only affects memories that would prove your identity. You remember how to sew, how to cook, how to raise a child, but you conveniently can't remember your husband or your previous life." Eleanor stood abruptly. "You think I wanted this? You think I wanted to forget everything? I have nightmares about fire, about a little girl crying, about walking through darkness with no idea where I was going. And when I wake up, I have to look at my daughter and explain why I can't remember her first words, her first steps, any of the things a mother should remember." The room went silent. "I didn't choose this," Eleanor continued, her voice breaking. "But I'm choosing now. I'm choosing to believe the evidence. I'm choosing to build a life with the man who says he's my husband. And I'm choosing to let my daughter know her father. If that makes me a con artist in your eyes, then I don't know what else to tell you." Catherine's expression didn't change. "A touching speech. But speeches don't change facts. The fact is, you've provided no concrete proof of your identity beyond DNA tests that could have been tampered with. You have no memories of the Walker family, no knowledge of intimate details that only Eleanor would know." "What was Eleanor's favorite song?" Thomas interrupted. Catherine frowned. "What? If you know my wife so well, tell me her favorite song." "This is ridiculous. Answer the question." Thomas's voice was steel. "What was Eleanor's favorite song? What did she order at restaurants? What was she afraid of? What made her laugh?" Catherine faltered. We weren't that close." "No, you weren't. Because you hated her. You hated that I married someone from outside our social circle. Someone who worked as a teacher instead of inheriting wealth. You made her life miserable. Catherine, you made snide comments at family dinners. You questioned her intelligence, her worth, her right to be part of this family. That's not..." "It is true," Thomas said. "And when she disappeared, you celebrated. Maybe not publicly, but I saw it in your eyes. You were glad she was gone. And now that she's back, you're terrified. Not because she's a fraud, but because she's real, and you're going to lose everything you stole." Catherine's face flushed red. "I didn't steal anything. I saved this company while you wallowed in self-pity for 20 years. You exploited my grief. I did what had to be done." The room erupted. Lawyers talking over each other. Judge Morrison banging his gavel. Catherine's husband standing trying to calm his wife. Her children looking mortified. And then Eleanor spoke again, cutting through the chaos. "I remember something," she said. Everyone stopped. Eleanor's eyes were closed, her face concentrated. The fire. "I remember pulling Emily through the window, the glass cutting my hands, and I remember someone who wasn't helping, someone who was just watching." "What are you talking about?" Catherine demanded. "There was another car, stopped on the side of the road, before the emergency vehicles arrived. I saw someone standing there, watching the bus burn, and they had a phone. They were taking pictures. Coleman, who'd been sitting quietly, suddenly sat forward. What kind of car? Black, expensive. I remember thinking it was strange. Why would someone just watch? Why wouldn't they help?" Coleman pulled out his phone, scrolling quickly. The accident happened on Route 87. There were no official witnesses at the scene before emergency services. But, he stopped, his face going pale. "Catherine, where were you on December 18th, 2003? "I don't have to answer that. You were in Albany," Thomas said slowly, memory clicking into place. "You were at a conference. You called me from Albany the morning of the accident." "So what?" "So the bus was traveling from New York to Albany. Same route you would have taken to get home." Thomas stood, his voice dangerous. "Were you there, Catherine? Were you at the accident?" Catherine's lawyer grabbed her arm. "Don't answer that." But the damage was done. Her face had given her away. A flash of panic, of guilt. "You were there," Thomas breathed. "You saw the accident. You saw Eleanor and Emily get out, and you drove away. That's insane. You let us think they were dead." Thomas's voice shook with rage. "You could have saved them. You could have called for help. But you didn't, because it was easier for you if they stayed missing." Catherine backed toward the door. Her lawyer was talking rapidly, trying to shut down the conversation, but it was too late. "I want her investigated," Thomas said to Judge Morrison. "I want to know exactly where she was that day, and why she never came forward." "This meeting is over," Catherine's lawyer announced, gathering his papers. Catherine fled the room, her family following. The sound of car engines starting echoed from outside. Thomas sank into his chair, shaking. Eleanor put her hand on his shoulder. Lily stood frozen, processing what they'd just learned. "Did she really do that?" Lily whispered. "Did she really just leave us there?" Coleman was already on his phone. "I'll find out if Catherine was at that accident, if she witnessed it and didn't report it. That's criminal negligence at minimum, maybe worse." Judge Morrison closed his folder. "I'm recommending this case proceed to trial, based on what I've heard today. There are serious questions that need to be answered." He looked at Thomas. "I believe your family, Mr. Walker, and I think the court will too." The paperwork took 3 weeks to finalize. Eleanor Walker, no longer Rose Reyes, at least not legally, sat in a conference room surrounded by lawyers, accountants, and documents that restored her identity, her shares in Walker Hotels, her property rights, her name. Everything Catherine had controlled for 20 years was being methodically transferred back. Catherine wasn't there. She'd moved out of her office the day after the confrontation, taken her family, and disappeared to their estate in Connecticut. Her lawyers had negotiated a severance package. Generous but final, she would retain a small percentage of non-voting shares, enough to live comfortably, but not enough to ever threaten the company again. Thomas signed the last document and looked across the table at Eleanor. "How does it feel?" "Terrifying," she admitted. "I don't know how to be Eleanor Walker. I've been Rose for 20 years. Then be both," Lily said from beside her. She'd been calling herself Lily Emily Walker lately. Hyphenated, a bridge between two lives. "You don't have to choose." The lead attorney, a woman named Patricia Vance with steel gray hair and sharp eyes, gathered the papers. "There's one more matter to discuss. The gravesite." Thomas had almost forgotten. In Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn, there was a headstone with Eleanor's name and Emily's. Flowers were still placed there regularly by people who'd known them, who'd mourned them. "We can have the names removed," Vance continued. "Update the records. Make it clear that—" "No," Eleanor said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. "Leave it. Mom, those women died in that accident," Eleanor said. Maybe not physically, but the Eleanor who got on that bus, the one who remembered her life, her husband, her home. She died in the fire. And the Emily who was 5 years old, who loved butterflies and had pigtails, she died too. We're different people now. Thomas felt his throat tighten. Eleanor, I mean it. She looked at him with those brown eyes that were both familiar and strange. I'm not the woman you married, Thomas. I have 20 years of memories you're not part of. I sewed clothes for fishermen's wives. I watched sunsets alone. I raised a daughter who called me Rose and didn't know she had a father who loved her. That's who I am now. Not a ghost. Not your old Eleanor. Someone new. The room was silent. So we leave the graves? Lily asked softly. We leave them. As a reminder that we're not trying to erase the past, we're just moving forward from it. They started therapy the following week. Dr. Sarah Chen recommended a colleague who specialized in family reunification. Dr. Marcus Webb, a kind man in his 60s who'd spent 30 years helping families navigate impossible situations. The first session was awkward. They sat in his office, which was decorated with comfortable chairs and abstract art that was probably supposed to be calming, and nobody wanted to speak first. Let's start simple, Dr. Webb said. What do each of you want from this family? Thomas went first. I want to know my daughter. I missed 20 years. I want to understand who Lily is now, not who Emily was. Lily nodded slowly. I want to stop feeling like I'm caught between two lives. I want to figure out how to be both people without feeling like I'm betraying one of them. Doctor. Webb turned to Eleanor. And you? She was quiet for a long moment. I want to not feel guilty for not remembering. Every time Thomas looks at me, I can see him searching for the woman he lost. And I want to tell him she's here, but I don't know if she is. I don't know if she ever will be. Thomas reached across the space between their chairs and took her hand. I'm not looking for who you were. I'm trying to learn who you are. Are you? Eleanor's voice was gentle but firm. Because sometimes I catch you staring at me like you're waiting for me to suddenly remember. Like I'm going to wake up one morning and be Eleanor again and everything will go back to normal. But there is no normal, Thomas. There's only what we build from here. Dr. Webb leaned forward. That's an important distinction, Thomas. Do you feel like you're mourning the Eleanor you lost? Even though she's sitting right here? Thomas didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was raw. Yes, I mourned her for 20 years, and now she's back. But she's not back. It's like being given a gift and being told you can't unwrap it. And I know that's selfish. I know I should just be grateful. You are grateful, Doctor, Webb interrupted. And you're also grieving. Both things can be true. Eleanor squeezed Thomas's hand. I'm grieving too. For the life I should have had. For the memories I lost. For the 20 years we could have been together. But we can't get that time back. All we can do is make the most of what we have now. And what do we have? Thomas asked. Each other, Lily said. Isn't that enough? They fell into a routine over the following weeks. Thomas would come to the hotel where Eleanor and Lily were staying. They'd insisted on staying in the hotel rather than moving into his penthouse. Needing their own space, they'd have dinner together, talk, share stories. Eleanor told them about San Harbor, about the neighbors who'd helped her when she first arrived, confused and broken, about learning to sew because her hands remembered the motions even when her mind didn't, about the first time Lily called her Mama, and how it felt like coming home to a place she'd never been. Lily talked about growing up without knowing her father, about the questions she'd always had about her past, about feeling like half of her story was written in invisible ink. Thomas shared his own 20 years, the business he'd built as a distraction from grief, the nights he'd spent staring at Eleanor's photo, trying to remember the sound of her laugh, the guilt that never quite went away. They weren't a perfect family, but they were trying. One evening, they visited the cemetery together, stood in front of the headstone with Eleanor Walker and Emily Walker carved in granite. Flowers lay at the base, left by someone who still remembered. Do you think they'd be proud of us? Lily asked quietly. The old Eleanor and Emily, if they could see us now. Eleanor considered this. I think they'd be glad we survived. That's all anyone can really ask for. Thomas placed his hand on the headstone. It was cold under his palm. Thank you for bringing them back to me, he said to whoever was listening. To fate, or God, or just the universe that had decided to give him a second chance. Even if they're different now, thank you. They stood there for a long time. 3 people learning to be a family in the shadow of who they used to be. And when they finally walked away, Eleanor, Rose, whoever she was now, took Thomas's hand. Not because she remembered loving him, but because she was choosing to love him now. And that, Thomas realized, was enough. More than enough. It was everything. 3 months later, they returned to San Harbor.
Not to leave New York behind, Thomas still had a company to run, and Lily had enrolled in a photography program at NYU. But to close a circle that had started on this small stretch of Florida coast 20 years ago, the town looked exactly the same.
Fishing boats bobbing in the harbor, palm trees swaying in the salt breeze, the same weathered houses with their gardens of mismatched flowers, but everything felt different now. Eleanor walked through the streets with her head high, Thomas beside her. Lily trailing behind, taking photos with the camera her father had bought her. "I can't believe you lived here," Thomas said, looking around at the simple houses, the unpaved side streets, the general store that probably hadn't changed in 50 years. "It was peaceful," Eleanor said. "Still is." They'd come for a specific purpose. The small chapel at the edge of town, the one that faced the ocean, had been reserved for Saturday afternoon. Nothing fancy. Eleanor had insisted on that. Just close friends. A few neighbors from San Harbor who'd helped Rose when she first arrived, and Richard Coleman, who'd flown down with his wife. Dr. Chen was there too, along with Dr. Webb, the people who'd helped put their family back together, piece by impossible piece. The ceremony was scheduled for sunset. Eleanor stood in the small room behind the chapel, looking at herself in a full-length mirror that had probably been there since the 1970s. She wore a simple white dress. Nothing elaborate, just cotton with lace sleeves she'd sewn herself. Her hair, still more gray than dark, was pulled back with a flower clip Lily had given her. Lily appeared in the doorway, wearing a pale blue sundress. "You look beautiful, Mom." "I look old," Eleanor said, but she was smiling. "You look happy." Eleanor turned from the mirror to face her daughter. "I am terrified, but happy." "Why terrified?" "Because I'm making promises I'm not sure I can keep. What if I never remember our first wedding? What if I can't be the wife Thomas remembers?" Lily crossed the room and took her mother's hands. "You're not supposed to be the wife he remembers. You're supposed to be the wife you are now, and Mom, Rose, Eleanor, whoever you decide to be. He loves you, not the memory. You." Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "When did you get so wise?" "I had a good mother," Lily smiled. "2 of them, actually. The one who saved my life in a burning bus, and the one who raised me by the ocean. I'm pretty lucky." They hugged, and Eleanor breathed in the scent of her daughter's shampoo, something floral and young, and felt grateful for every single day they'd had together. Even the ones lived in ignorance of who they really were. The chapel was small, maybe 20 people scattered across old wooden pews. Sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, throwing colored patterns across the floor. The sound of waves rolling against the shore drifted in through the open door. Thomas stood at the altar in a simple gray suit, no tie. He'd never looked more nervous in his life. Coleman, standing as his best man, leaned over and whispered, "You okay?" "Absolutely not," Thomas admitted. "Good. Shows you care." The guitar music started. A local musician who lived 3 houses down from Eleanor's place, playing something soft and beachy, and then Eleanor appeared in the doorway, Lily Emily Walker at her side. Thomas forgot how to breathe. She walked toward him slowly, not quite the Eleanor he'd married 30 years ago, but somehow more real, more present. Every line on her face, every strand of gray hair, every moment of the life she'd lived without him, all of it was written on her like a story he was just beginning to read. When she reached him, Lily kissed her mother's cheek, then Thomas's, and stepped aside. Thomas took Eleanor's hands. They were rough from years of sewing, from work and survival. Beautiful hands. The minister, a retired priest who lived in San Harbor and had known Rose for years, smiled at them both. "We're gathered here today to celebrate not just a marriage, but a miracle. 20 years ago, these 2 people lost each other, and against every odd, against everything that made sense, they found their way back." He nodded to Thomas. "You wanted to say your own vows." Thomas cleared his throat. His prepared speech evaporated from his mind. So he spoke from the heart instead. "Eleanor, Rose, you've been both to me now, and I've realized that I don't need you to remember the woman I married. I don't need you to become someone you're not. All I need is this. Right here, right now, you standing with me, choosing me, the same way I choose you, not because of who we were, but because of who we want to be, together." Eleanor's tears fell freely now. "Thomas, I can't promise I'll ever remember our first life together. I can't promise I'll wake up one day and suddenly be the Eleanor you lost. But I can promise this. I will love you with everything I am now. Not the ghost of who I was, but the woman standing in front of you. And we'll build new memories. Better ones, maybe. Different ones. Definitely. But ours." Thomas slipped the ring onto her finger. The same ring she'd been wearing for 20 years without knowing its meaning. It clicked into place like it had never left. Eleanor did the same with his ring, the matching piece that had lived on his pinky finger through 2 decades of grief. "I now pronounce you," the minister said with a smile. "Married, again." They kissed while the small congregation applauded, and it felt like both a beginning and an ending, the closing of a wound that had bled for 20 years, the opening of a future neither of them had dared to dream. The reception was held on the beach behind the chapel. String lights hung between palm trees. A local seafood restaurant had catered. People danced barefoot in the sand to music from a Bluetooth speaker. Thomas and Eleanor stood at the water's edge, watching the sun sink toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. "Are you happy?" Thomas asked. "I'm happy," Eleanor confirmed. "Are you?" "I'm complete." Lily joined them, her camera hanging around her neck. "Can I take your picture?" They posed together, Thomas with his arm around Eleanor's waist, both of them smiling, both of them older and weathered and whole. And Lily snapped the photo. "Perfect," she said, reviewing it on the screen. "This is going in the family album. We need to make a family album," Eleanor realized. "We will," Thomas said. "We have time now, all the time in the world." They walked along the beach as darkness settled, the 3 of them together, leaving footprints in the wet sand that the tide would eventually wash away. But it didn't matter. They'd make new ones tomorrow, and the day after that, and all the days that followed. Behind them, the party continued. Music and laughter carried on the wind. The people of San Harbor celebrated one of their own, finding her way home. And up in Connecticut, Catherine Walker sat in her empty house and wondered if she'd made the right choices. The money was hers, the settlement generous. But her brother was gone, her family, fractured beyond repair. Some victories, she was learning, felt a lot like defeat. Thomas held Eleanor's hand as they walked, the rings on their fingers catching moonlight. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" "For coming back. For giving us another chance." Eleanor stopped walking and turned to face him. "I didn't come back, Thomas. I was always here. You just had to find me." And in that moment, on a beach in a town that time forgot, under stars that had watched them lose each other and find each other again,